And then he doesn't have dice, so he just reaches for my deck box, pulls out my dice compartment, pulls out 2 dice, and he's like, high roll? I'm like, dude, what are you doing? In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, guys. This is our 4th episode of the It Connects podcast. So, I'm Colin. I'm joined by Mohammad, Arvind, and
Hi.
Trevor. You know, the usual guys. If you haven't seen our faces before, well, now you've seen them.
So it's back together for this one.
So it's been, at this point, about a week since the Oviedo regionals. So today we wanted to do a little episode, basically just recounting our stories from the past couple weeks between Kissimmee and Oviedo. Especially a lot of stuff that, like, I wish I could have captured on camera for the vlog, but I just couldn't because obviously we were just busy, you know, like focusing on our rounds and whatnot. But yeah, so let's start with the Kissimmee regionals. Now, before we actually get into the event, I want to talk about our testing and preparation leading up to this event. I feel like it was pretty non-existent.
Look,
We
I'm
played
gonna
a
come
lot
out
of
and say
Saka
this.
versus Moria. I think that was all we did.
I'm gonna say this. Trevor and Arvind are like on the grind 24/7. I don't have that mind state, dude. I can't. Trevor and Arvind will just like be in Discord calls for hours. I'm like, hey Colin, you want to go get food on Monday? And Colin's like, in. That's our
Yeah.
testing, dude.
That was kind of our own fault too. I mean, I think part of it too is like I think the months leading up to it, like even prior to OP6 dropping, we've been preoccupied with other stuff like Dragon Ball Fusion World, for example, right? I know for me personally, I've been like flip-flopping back and forth between Saka and Moria, which probably wasn't the best idea. I really should have just like I ended up picking Moria for Kissimmee, which realistically I probably should pick Saka since that's what I had more hours on, but yeah.
I didn't test. No. I played a ton of Moria going into the event because it's a whole new strategy for me to learn. I got it down, I think, for the most part. It's just whenever you're sitting, I think it's a good tip for anybody when you're sitting down for it, when you go into a 9-round tournament. Yeah, play one of the best decks in the format, but make sure you're playing a deck that fits your playstyle, because at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you're doing the right lines 24/7 on that deck throughout that 9-round event. And that was something that I personally noticed whenever I was playing in Kissimmee, which is why I did not play Gecko and Oviedo. But it was minor decisions that ended up costing me a lot of games. I think it costed me and Colin's game, but that's future talk. But yeah,
Foreshadowing.
yeah, foreshadowing. But yeah, it was definitely Gecko prep helping Arvind get the Gecko matchup down, and I think he got it down because he did pretty dang well into every Gecko player he played against for the most part. And then we tested some Katakuri, and that just ended up being a flop for all of us. I think we understand that Katakuri is just not for us, and we don't like yellow. So
To be fair, like, I think like 3 out of 4 of us were very, very close to taking it, like up to like a week before,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We were just convinced that it was so good because it was just the most represented deck. So like,
Yep.
you know, it's like I think cross-ended best is like you have like X amount of games that you're just gonna win by triggers, X amount of games where you might skill diff your opponent, and yeah,
It
and then
feels like
X
some
amount of
yellow
games where-
propaganda.
Yeah.
Because of the 2 weeks in a row that yellow topped or one events here.
Yep.
I mean, one dude was like 16-0 in like back-to-back regionals with it, or something.
Yeah,
like that,
I mean
so.
he was going insane. But like
crazy.
he was the only guy replicating that performance. So I don't know how easy it is to apply to other players. He just has a different understanding of that deck than other players.
Either a different understanding or it was hitting the slots all weekend, dude. One or the other.
That's the deck, though.
Could be both. But
Oh, I think what was fun about this this regional, though, not to be on this topic for too long, is a lot of, because it was in Florida and we're Florida based, a lot of our local players that usually don't get to travel got to join us for this event, and that was fun to have some of those players start playing in the event. A local friend of ours by the name of John Bolt, Raph, those types of players that we don't not that we don't test with them, they just don't ever test for these big regionals that we travel for a lot of times. So it was nice to be able to like test with them, get them ready, and help them prep for their events for this last 2 weekends.
It's always nice to help like your local community, your friends that can't travel as much as you can, just because like when you notice it a lot at the California regionals, especially the waitlist lines are always longer than all the others because just for everyone it's a lot closer to them and they can go. For us, Orlando's like an hour and a half drive maybe. Yep. So everyone from our locals from the Orlando area, even some people from down in Miami are just like, yeah, we're definitely gonna show up at least.
Dude, can we talk about that?
It's a fun time.
Can we talk about that waitlist line though? Now that you brought it up, let's talk about it. That thing was insane, dude. Like, dude, so one of our friends, Matt, he like, what time? He came in at like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think
4
or 5.
4 or 5 a.m.
I want to say it was like 5
he missed it,
a.m.
right?
Yeah, he waitlisted and he got there at 5 a.m. and there was like a horde of people.
He was like
already.
he was like number like 170 something in line at that point, and I'm just like, bro.
He got his wristband to at least get into the venue. Mm-hmm. It's so funny because these 3 boys all got an Airbnb the night before, so they were already in Orlando. I drove up with my buddy Nate Long, John Bolt, and Katie. We drove up the morning of. Matt Chen messaged me at like 7 a.m. He's like, hey, yo, where you at? And I'm like, I'm still in Tampa. I don't know what you're talking about. That was a wild morning, dude.
Because I think like out of that line, only like 50 something out of that like 300 plus line actually got in. So
there were so many people waitlisting that not everyone even got a wristband to get into the venue. Like, that's how big it was. Like, people that weren't there since like 7 a.m. just got turned away at the door because they were giving out a numbered wristband to get you into the venue at all, and then based on that number is whether or not you could get in. That was like your position in line to get the waitlist spots. Mm-hmm. So like after 7 a.m. people showed up. I distinctly remember this because it was a wild story. There was a group that showed up at like 9 or 10, and they're like, hey, we're here for One Piece. So like, if you didn't show up at 7, we don't have wristbands, you can't get in. And they're like, what do you mean? And then in the same venue on the other side of it, because it was divided by a curtain, there was like a competitive Magic Commander tournament, and they were like, yeah, they could use our slots to come in if they want, but they have to buy a ticket into our event, which was $125. They were just trying to scalp seating, dude. It was so wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's been like that the past few in-person regionals too, apparently, right?
So it was definitely like that when I went to the Santa Clara regional. That wait list literally filled up like all the walls in the venue room. And I heard the same thing was similar at Peoria.
You're saying the line was so long that it stretched the outskirts of the whole venue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's weird because it didn't happen at... Just to jump forward a little bit, the waitlist line at Oviedo was like...
non-existent.
Like 60 people, maybe. I think like 2 people didn't get in, from what I heard. Like our buddy Mike Tan came in. He arrived at the venue at like 9 or 8. Got his wristband. He was like number 34. He's like, I hope I get in, man, but I'm not expecting anything. And then he got in and he's like, oh, I only have yellow Yamato to play. So that's his event. But he literally, we heard like all but like 2 people who waitlisted for Oviedo got in. So it's like, if you didn't show up at just before they started, you were good. So it's really weird. I don't know if it's because it was a test event or if Oviedo just... people didn't realize how close it was to Orlando or what.
It was probably because there wasn't like an online waitlist either, so I guess people just didn't think that you could even get in. Maybe
people heard the stories about the other waitlists and just didn't want to bother.
Yeah.
But then maybe I feel like at that point it would have happened with Orlando, right? Because at that point Orlando's like the 5th regional that's happened at least this season, maybe more, 5th or 6th.
Yeah. Orlando, again, I think you said it best though. Orlando had an online wait list. That's a big deal when it comes down to like trying to get in, because that's how all 3 of us got into Kissimmee. Me, you, and Colin. We got in off the online wait list.
But we got in by buying a ticket. We didn't actually do the wait list.
Well, I understand that, But
Right.
because they had a pre-announced waitlist, that means that they can still try to waitlist at the beginning. Oviedo, until the pretty much like a day or two before the event, we didn't know that there was a waitlist. We didn't know that people were able to
There's
get
no
in at the front door.
information. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like
That's fair.
that is a very big deal when it comes to like paying for a flight, doing all these certain things, or even just driving. Wasting your time driving is a big deal whenever it comes down to I showed up and got nothing. Because there's also
I mean,
no
it was
information.
especially bad for Orlando when you couldn't even like get into the venue to do side events or anything.
Yeah. Well, there's also there's no information on side events either. So even then, like that's another reason for people not to show up is not knowing what's going on outside of the main event. But yeah.
Well, all right. Well, with that, let's move on. So I wanted to talk about just briefly like our individual experiences to the day, being our matchups. So I guess we'll start with the more successful people in this room being Arvind and Mohammad. I know you guys already like said it in your deck profiles, but for those who haven't maybe watched those, I guess we'll start with you, Mohammad. How was your day?
I mean, my day in Kissimmee was pretty well. I ended up 12th out of 512 players. I took Moria. We have the deck profile link probably in the description.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up playing like 4 Moria mirrors and then just like 5 other decks. I played a Katakuri, a Sakazuki, a Red Purple Law, a Reiju, and my last round was a Whitebeard. I mean, it ultimately, like, a lot of it was just like getting experience on the deck. Like we had in the deck profile. My deck list was very slightly different from Colin and Trevor's, but I had a bit more experience on the Moria deck, so I saw the lines a bit easier throughout the day, so that's where my success more than likely came from. But I mean, my most interesting matchup was probably Whitebeard. To be perfectly honest, it took me back to set 2 format, dude. That was a wild time. Shouts to Evan, he played well.
And your other loss was Reiju early in the day, right?
Yeah, my other loss was to Reiju. There wasn't really much I could have done. Like, it was very close.
Just died by natural causes.
Yeah, it was. I lost by like 1k encounter. My last 2 life were like non-counters, so like natural causes killed me. The dude saw three Ichijis and I didn't see anything to pop them. I'm like, all right, well, I lost by 1k and you're at 0. Like, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. I'm not gonna be upset placing at 12th. I'm at least queued for Nat, so less worrying I have to do for upcoming events, but we're still gonna try for that serial this season, and we're gonna try for a Goku later, but that's another video.
Mm-hmm. All right, and Arvind?
I got 15th at that same regional, playing about an even split of all the decks that you'd expect coming into that tournament. So 3 Katakuri, 3 Moria, and 3 Sakazuki mirrors. My losses were to a round 7 Sakazuki mirror, Alexis, who got 3rd, and a round 9 Moria, who I believe got 6th.
Either way, top 8. So.
Yeah.
Was there anything that came up where you were like, if I could do one thing on the deck list and change this, would you have done it? Is there any? If you could have mid-game, mid-tournament, grab a card from your pile of bulk and put it in the deck, what would you have swapped out and put in?
I must say, I kind of missed having a 3rd Hina, but I saw Hina enough. So like, I'm gonna say this: if you're not playing Hina in your Moria deck, you should be. That card's a drug. That card on 6 is so strong. Yep. But I would, funny enough, while it was at 2, I was seeing it enough in the Kissimmee regional, and then I just like almost never saw it at Oviedo. It was so weird. Just like, that's just variance though. So
yeah, that's definitely variance. What
not
about
much
you,
I'd change on my side.
My Sakazuki list is fairly standard. I don't think I'd change anything.
Good to know.
There.
That's what I want to hear, but that's fair.
Yours is like every stage list ever.
Pretty much.
I did make a change for Oviedo that worked out, but I lost to like variance, but that'll be covered later. Not variance, but
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right, and Trevor, I think you and I will our experiences kind of overlap a little bit.
the duo discussion.
I got blasted.
How
round
did your
one.
guys' round 1 go?
Okay, so if you haven't watched the vlog, so and if you haven't, please watch in the description below. But round 1 was so let's rewind before that. So about 30 or so minutes prior to round 1 being announced, Trevor comes up to me and is like, "Hey Colin, let's run a few Moria mirrors because like we're on the exact same 50 card list, and we were supposed to test a mirror match the night before, and this goes back to the whole preparation thing. We just like did not do what we were supposed to do, like unlike our other videos about telling you guys what to do." But
Follow our advice. We should have.
do as I say, not as I do. That's my main advice. But yeah, so we were supposed to test a Moria mirror the night before. We did it. We just kept testing Saka versus Moria. And then that morning, about 30 minutes prior to round 1 being called, Trevor comes up to me and is like, "Hey, let's run the Moria mirror a little bit just to warm ourselves up a bit, and also because we just haven't practiced enough." So we do it. We just find a table in the back. I take the first game, and then Trevor takes the second game, and we're just shooting the, it's, we're having good fun. And then round 1, the guy announces it on the overhead. Round 1 has been paired. We look at our phones. It's like, all right, Mohammad, you're at table 100, whatever. Arvind, you're at table 60 something. And then Trevor looks at me. He's like, "Colin, we're at table 250." And I'm like, "What?"
Table 500.
And I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like, you're going to table 250. It's like, "No, we're both going to table 250.
We're getting our grudge match, the best of 3 there.
Yeah, so we're like, all right, well, we're 1-1, so we might as well play game 3. So we go to our table, and we sit down and we wait for the guy to go through all his announcements and whatnot. And then I think was it me or you, Trevor, that we looked the other guy in the eye and we're like, "Hey, what if we just swap decks?"
It was me. I was like,
Yeah.
I was interested in just like if anything, because we can't get reported back before that. We're on the same 50 card list.
Yeah, who cares? Were they gonna do deck check us?
Exactly. So
Here's my deck.
Yeah.
I don't know what our opponents were thinking. I don't know if they thought anything of it, but I
the
do
guy
know
next
that,
to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Your deck sucked that round, so I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, your deck ran really well.
I know it did. I saw it. I got shafted by it. But yeah, round one was definitely it was a good game. It was probably the best Gecko game I've ever had and will ever have because I'm never playing the deck again.
It was a good game for me too.
Yes, and Colin did take the win by just it was 2 turns back to back of going Rebecca Sabo.
Yeah.
And if you already have bodies established in the mirror, like that's just it's a dagger at that point.
We both had like 1 or 2 8-drop Morias on the table. I think we each had 1 8-drop Moria on the table, so we had the exact same like board basically. It's just I broke the symmetry with Rebecca Sabo.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's all you really need to do in that matchup at a certain point. So yeah, he ended up taking the game, and then I'll just be real quick. I didn't care. After that, I was done. I was blasted. I was pretty much a cheerleader for everybody that was in here, and just holding on for dear life of just either trying to decide if I want to, that's another story. Anyways. Yes, it was a good event. Glad I was there because I got to see my boys top, and I got to see Colin play some games. That's all I got to say really for Colin. But
I mean, you still stayed in.
Locals do well. That was nice.
Yeah, I mean, you still stayed in for most of the event to keep my tiebreakers off.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I played in every round.
Yeah.
I just didn't care about every round. So like, there was a lot of like, I was just making plays to make plays. Me and my opponent were joking a lot of the time. Hopefully they were okay with that. I mean, they were laughing, so I don't know if anything was going wrong with that. But yeah, that tournament, Kissimmee was not for me. Kissimmee was for my friends and my teammates, and I'm so excited. That's all I cared about with Kissimmee after round 1.
I mean, to be fair, and like, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but like these past couple events for you personally, I feel like your main goal was the serial card. I mean, obviously the Nats invite, sure, but like when you lose round 1, that's pretty much like the death knell out of the serial.
I think it wasn't even really that. I don't think it was the serial right now because I didn't have. I'll say this: going into the first event of the new season and stuff like that, I wasn't really worried about the serial card. I was definitely worried about the Nats invite more than the serial card.
Okay.
Now, mind you, would I love to have a Luffy and a Shanks for my financial situation? Yeah, dude, love it. But I definitely cared about the Nats invite more. But after losing round 1 to you, it was not that I was bummed that I lost to you. It was just like, okay, we shot each other. what else am I gonna do? Like, I'm already on a deck that I'm liking but not enjoying, and I got blasted round 1 by an amazing player. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let him have it. And this is their event. This is not my event. And just cheerlead. I think I gave my round 9 opponent the win. And I walked over to the top tables and watched Arvind and Mohammad play for the entire round. I kept shushing everybody that kept trying to talk to me. I was like,
spoiler, it wasn't my event to win either.
And that's okay. That's all right.
500 to pair into a teammate in round 1. Just like, what are the odds?
Yeah. But anyways, Colin, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So up until the lunch break was round 5. Or at the conclusion of round 5, and I was X1 at that point. I was feeling pretty good because my only loss was Alexis Standard / Goblin, which ended up getting 3rd. So and he was on a really hot streak at that point. So I was like, all right, I feel pretty good. My one loss, I felt pretty good about my tiebreaker. And I'm like, okay, after lunch, 4 more rounds. Just gotta basically at least X1 like this 4-round locals to.
Yeah, that's my thing. You gotta win your locals.
So
treat a regional as just like 2 locals, dude.
So round 6, right after lunch, I win my game. I'm like, yes, all right, just gotta, all right. The Shanks is mine. I got a 3-0 these last 3 rounds, easy. I go 0-3. I'm like, it's like the round 7. I lose to some bad variants. Round 8. I lose because it's like my fault. Maybe I was a little bit jarred from the previous round. It is what it is. And then round 9, I play against our buddy Fern, who's also like a very, very good player. If you're like around the Orlando area, I'm sure you might have heard of him. He's also, he's also been quite around a bunch of events and done well. But yeah, so we're both in the X3 bracket, and we sit down across from each other. And Fern sees my Gecko Moria leader, and he's on Saka, and then he's like, man, I hate it when my homies play a bad deck. And I'm like, all right, buddy, all right. And then he pulls out his Saka, and it's like, this is an ace, but it's just like, he just pulls out a beat-up, unsleeved Saka leader. And I'm like, all right, no, you are not gonna trash talk me, and then take this like Captain Kid from me, because that's basically what we're playing for at this point. I get blasted. Like, he won the die roll, and I basically whiffed my Thriller Barks from the first couple turns, and it was GG.
Fern's a good guy to lose to, though. I will say that. Fern's a funny guy to lose to.
Yeah, the story does get better later on, but I'll save it for later.
Dude, I'm just gonna say this: after seeing Colin and Trevor get paired in round 1. The thing I was just like praying for every time we finished a round, I'd come up to the boys. Me and Arvind had the same record. I'm like, please let us dodge each other. I don't want to dagger homie in like the last 3 rounds. And every round we were just like right next to each other. It was wild, dude.
I think I got to watch 3 of Mohammed's games from my table.
From your table?
Dude, we were literally just next to each other. Just whenever I'd pass turn, while my opponents just in their head, they're like, I'd just be like, so Arvind, how's your match going? Just look at that game. Dude, Kissimmee was a good time. Oviedo was also a good time. Oviedo, we kind of all. I mean, first for Kissimmee, I'm very proud of a lot of our locals for their first event. Shout out to Nate Long, Omar, Jason. They all did pretty well. Nate especially went 6-3 in his first regional, almost top 60 forward with near no practice on Green Uta, and also lost to Jonas in round 2, so that was an experience for him.
That's fun.
Yeah, for sure. Like you guys were saying earlier, I'm really glad that we got to saw a lot of our own locals do decently well in that regional. I mean, even doing well or not, just to see them, and we all had a great time afterwards. We went to Super Saiyan, that Dragon Ball Z themed noodle restaurant right after for dinner. It was also in our vlog. To be honest with you, I think that place is just okay. I've had better noodles.
No, Super Saiyan, if you want to sponsor us, they were fire, dude. Noodles were 10 out of 10. Don't want to break any relationships here.
This podcast is in no way sponsored or affiliated with Super Saiyan, but Super Saiyan, if you're listening, you very well could be. And if you would like to sponsor us, your noodles are significantly better now.
They had I loved their lemonade. I don't know. I think I had the raspberry lemonade or something. I had a strawberry lemonade. I think it was a strawberry lemonade. And
I will say
I loved that.
That server guy that was bringing out our food. Oh my god, he was so sweet. I was like, I wish I could. I wish we could have tipped him somehow. It was like I'd never seen somebody so positive in a restaurant setting.
He was all smiles. He was like, order number 72. Who has order number 72? I want to give it up for order number 72. And I'm just like, that's me.
Yeah,
well, like, here you go. Enjoy your meal. Happy evening.
You would call the name. It's like, all right, bowl for Colin or bowl for Arvind. And then I remember the specific point where Trevor's like, "Oh, I need to buy another drink," and then like Omar just like sneaks over to the kiosk to like order it for him.
It freaked me out.
and then the really sweet guy comes out with Trevor's drink, and he's like, "Order for Whitebeard." And then everyone in the restaurant, because it's such a confined space, everyone in the restaurant just starts looking at Trevor.
But the thing is, though, is like I stood up and grabbed it, and the server goes, "You're Whitebeard."
Yeah.
Yeah. The really funny thing is, he sees Trevor. He's like, "You're Whitebeard," and he looks at my table because we couldn't seat all like 10 of us at one table. It looks at John Bolt, who actually has a white beard, and he's like, "Not him." And we start losing it.
It's flaming.
That was a good time.
Flaming me, yeah.
It was a good flame, though.
I think other than that, though, Kissimmee was a great event. Nothing to really complain about. It ran smooth. Well, okay, let me correct that real quick. The main event ran really smooth. I heard there was some nightmare stuff with the side events, but I wasn't in any of them. Didn't try to be in any of them, so I have no history. I have no like recollection of what happened there. But other than that, I think it all ran pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, we were done by like
PPG.
Yeah, we were done by like 5:30.
Yeah.
Like, p.m.
Yeah,
right?
It was a good day.
So,
I think we finished at 5:30, and then we spent like an hour waiting for prizing or something, and then like 30 or 40 minutes to drive to Super Saiyan in traffic.
yeah.
Yep.
And then we were all home by like,
Midnight,
or we were all
or before
back in
midnight.
Tampa by like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
Like, to clarify, One Piece tournaments run a lot quicker than most. Like, Colin and I can tell from our experience in like Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Regionals will wrap up at like 11 and you're still in Orlando having not eaten because they don't even give you a lunch break. So it's like,
it's definitely because of the best of 3 rounds too, because Magic's the same way.
Absolutely.
Like, you go to like a GP or another major event, and it's like, yeah, you'll play like 9 rounds, best of 3, go from 10 a.m. to almost midnight.
just
to see field day
Pokemon
2.
similar. It's like
Yeah.
9 rounds day 1, and then it's either 3 or 6 rounds day 2. And then it's like top 8 or top 16.
Yeah, something
also
like
day
that.
2. But Kissimmee was solid. Not much to talk about for that one. I guess to transition a little bit. Dang it, I said it again. I caught myself on that one. Anyways, to transition a little bit, we can start talking about our prep for Oviedo. I didn't really do much prep, honestly. I just changed, like, I think I changed 3 cards in my Moria list to account for the fact that Black Yellow Luffy was legal and I expected to play into it. And the changes, like, worked out for me, but thoughts, boys, prep, testing, changes.
I'll let everyone else go because I know I had the most.
Yeah,
prep.
Yeah,
That's
you,
all I
you,
know.
you have a really good story.
Trevor has a great story. Trevor's gonna run the Oviedo show. That we were the cheerleaders this time. I mean,
Yeah.
not really, but
Yeah, so for me personally, even prior to Kissimmee, I knew that I was swapping back to Saka for Oviedo because of Black Yellow Luffy coming out, and I was genuinely worried that, because it's a new deck, a lot of people would want to be just trying it out just for the sake of trying it out. And it is a good deck, and Gecko just on paper doesn't have a great matchup versus Black Yellow Luffy. So to be honest, even after Kissimmee, like going through my rounds and going 1 and 2 versus the Saka matchup, I was like, every time I see them play like Tashigi to Brandy to Tashigi, I'm like, man, I wish I could be doing that. So
The double searchers are too addicting.
it's like the dopamine effect you get from like chaining searchers in Sakazuki.
Colin, did you play Red Green Law?
I never did. I mean, I did in set 1, but I only ever played One Piece casually. Like,
But
up
you
until
never
set
played it past set 2 when Dodon was introduced to the deck.
Oh, dude,
No,
the
I
dog
maybe
red, green,
I maybe tried it once, but yeah, that was it. So I never really experienced Red Green Law enough.
No, that's a
I mean, your
feeling.
big break into One Piece was post
set 4.
4, right?
Yeah, it was set 4.
It was our 3v3. That was his
Great.
competitive break into One Piece. Oh, well, that's another story for another day.
That
That's
was
a
a fun
throwback
tournament.
story. That was a fun tournament. Trevor has some words about that one. I think we've talked about that one before a bit.
Well, anyways.
But yeah,
Anyways.
I think my preparation for Oviedo was, I think pretty much overlaps with Arvind, because I remember hitting him up and we were just running a bunch of Sokka mirrors just to like get used to it again. I played Sokka a lot on like individually on Sim because a lot of people were trying Black Yellow Luffy, so I just wanted to queue up into a bunch of Black Yellow Luffys just to see. And then Mohammad almost sold me on playing Moria again with Isho because we were like, oh, Isho solves the Black Yellow Luffy matchup.
It does.
And then I'm like, okay, what if I don't see the Isho? And
Just
then
play better.
And then it basically all the way up to it was like literally that Friday morning we were at the gym and you were telling me about your Isho list, and I'm like, you like were basically selling me on it. And I played it on Sim for a few matches and I'm like, all right, I beat every Black Yellow Luffy I queued up against on Sim, so I'm like semi convinced. And then I hit you up, Mohammad, again at night. I was like, all right, play me
Yeah.
on Sim just to see how this goes. And then I was winning.
I think we end up I think it went 3-2, but
Or
every
something
time
like
we
that. I
resolved
was
an
positive.
Isho, I lost.
Yeah, and then I was about to register it, and then I'm like, wait a minute. Let me test Sokka real quick into this, because I figured a lot of people would be on Sokka. And I think I was winning on Sokka, and I'm like, I still feel more comfortable on Sokka personally, because it's just what I played more with, so that's why I ended up registering at 11:30 at night. So yeah, that was my preparation experience.
What about you, Arvind? What'd you prep?
I'm having trouble remembering now, but I mean, that was the practice games with Colin and just making sure everything was right with Luffy. Obviously, I had been practicing on Sim for a bit for that matchup just to see, you just don't swing into them as Sakazuki, and even the matchup pretty free.
Just play like Enel, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. It's almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oviedo started, actually, funny enough, Oviedo prep started for me literally the night of Kissimmee ending.
So when you saw
two
Evan
Whitebeards.
Tabe with a Whitebeard.
Evan and Brandon, because both
Yeah.
of those are really good. Those are really close players to me in terms of just what we've been playing since the very beginning of the game, or at least when our competitive career started in the game. And I got inspired to play Whitebeard again, as I should have never dropped it. And we tested. I specifically wanted to just test the one matchup that I never knew how to play into, which was the Black Veil Luffy matchup. So we tested that for about 7 games that night, and I couldn't take a game off of Black Yellow Luffy. So I was in the lab for the next day or two at work and just not talking about the game much at all and just thinking about the Whitebeard list. And then funny enough, I found a card in the red pool that I think answered all of my issues for most of my matchups, actually. At least most of my yellow matchups in general, too. And that was Shariah. Shariah did everything that I needed that card to do. In specifically the Black Yellow Luffy matchup, it made it where these 9k swings become a one card counter instead of the 3 to 4. It made being able to get cards out of the Black Yellow Luffy's hand even more more efficient. So I strapped those into the list. I did some ratio cutting, which I'll talk about later and why that affected me. And I messaged the guys and I'm like, you guys were in a Discord call. I joined and I said, someone play Black Yellow Luffy into me. That's all I asked. So I think me and Arvind ran that matchup, and it was definitely noticeable when that Shariah hit the board how much of a difference
Card
it
is
made.
so good into yellow. All the yellow decks, right?
It makes the matchup just so much easier. Just
absolutely.
only having to give up a 1k instead of your
Yeah.
Rad Beam or your guard point early.
You went from a 95-5 in Luffy's favor to 50-50, literally with that one card.
No, it was crazy. It was definitely, it became more of a skill matchup in terms of what cards to give away at what times and how to take life and when to take life for me on my point. I think Black Yellow Luffy is just kind of a see the cards, play the cards kind of deck. If it doesn't have the cards, it loses. Sort of like Whitebeard in that instance, but definitely to their detriment more often than not, because that's how the heal is with those 5 costs. And if you don't have those 5 costs, you're not doing anything.
It also just like makes them have to play so much differently. They can't just like shotgun for their leader to do whatever. They have to like use the cards on their board. Because if they just like shotgun the leader, turn it into a 9K, everything on their board just gets free blocked by the Shariah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
and that was another thing. Yeah, it turned them into how to play the matchup differently in terms of how they swung, when they swung. They were trying. I think Arvind was trying to use the pop Sabo more, and a lot that's harder to do in that deck because when you think about it, most decks of that ratio are 2. Like you're not seeing that card enough for me to be concerned about it. And if you do play that card, that's actually the best card for me to be playing, for you to be playing into me. In my opinion, for my point of view, is you popping one of my bodies and ripping a life is way better than you playing 2 bodies and one of them's a blocker and one of them's a rush card. That's so much more detrimental to me. But anyways, I brought it to locals that Thursday. I felt pretty good into it. I got blasted by Omar, but he just high rolled the crap out of me. I've never been blasted harder by Black Yellow Luffy. So again, we prepped Whitebeard for the Black Yellow Luffy matchup because the same idea that I had was with the call-in was that because it's new, it's probably going to be played a lot. And it was, but funny enough, my 9 rounds, I never saw the deck. But I did see 4 other yellow decks, and it was pivotal into those matchups, and I'll talk about that more as we get further, and I'll let these guys, as we go into matchups, go first. But, yeah, I prepped for Whitebeard, prepped with Whitebeard.
We're already talking about it. Why not name the 4 decks real quick?
Oh, yeah. So I ran into specifically that it helped out into was Kata and Yamato. I ran into 2 Yamatos and 2 Katas, funny enough. And every yellow matchup, Shariah came in handy. And then I had a little fun match against Jonas at the end of the day, and it only came up there to like pull removal from Jonas's hand, so it, like maybe my higher cost bodies would stick. It didn't feel great to play, but at least it got removal. And Whitebeard's
something.
Yeah, well, because Whitebeard's 3 on turn is just usually swing 5 with a searcher, right? If it doesn't have more searchers. So you playing a card that is a little bit of a threatening card to pull removal from Sokka is always nice.
because it makes them play differently on their turn, right? Like on 4 Dawn, instead of playing a Kuzan, they're kind of obligated to answer the Shariah.
Yep. That's what I needed, because that was the issue with the deck, and it came up against Arvind, funny enough, last night, where he just kind of got the triple Kuz on me for free, because I just didn't see Shariah on 2, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, what can I do? Well, you know, that's neither here nor there. But Oviedo, when we're going into it, and we'll circle back around, I'm going to take over from here pretty much, is Oviedo started early for me. Oviedo started at 11:30. Yeah, Oviedo for the event started at 11:30 on Friday night, and it started with me and my friend Moses, my ride or die at this point, because that man will do anything with me if I just say, hey, we're gonna go do something. I just gotta offer him Waffle House.
Moses, we gotta send it.
That's pretty much it. Hey Moses, we gotta do something. He's like, I'm down. Let's do it.
Waffle House after. Let's rock.
Yeah. So I offered him. I said, hey, let's go. Me and you. Let's drive to Orlando at 11:30 at night, and let's get there around 2 in the morning so that we can be ready for the event to get into the wait list. And we were ready. We were prepped. I came home that night and slept. And then, and we got in the car and we drove. Fun time getting there. But here was the kicker. We showed up, and there was already 6 people ahead of us. And we found out that those guys, while we were leaving my house at 11:30 at night, they were there at 11:30 at night. Even crazier. Wild time. After that, about 20 more people showed up before we were able to get into the event, and that was at 6 in the morning. Or at least into the mall where the event was being hosted. And then at 6 to 8 to about 7:50 to 8:10, we were in line right in front of the Sears, the abandoned Sears that we played inside of. And about 10 more people showed up, so we had about 30 people total before they handed out our bands to mark where we were in the line.
Dude, how many people can say that they've played a premier card game tournament in an abandoned Sears?
That was a cool time. That was cool.
Approximately 400.
Yeah.
How bad I wanted to walk up those elevators was so bad. It was like
Dude.
the little kid in me was so tempted to just walk up those elevators.
Dude,
and see
I
what's going
wanted
on.
to see what
Or
was
the
on the second
escalators.
floor. Really, dude. Honestly, that was.
During the
I
lunch
felt
break,
that.
I'm skipping some time here, but during the lunch break, me and Chris were sitting in the back area when you guys were all getting food, and there was like a swarm of security guards that like went through the event hall and then just straight up the escalators, and we're like, I want a security shirt so I can see what the heck's going on there. Me and Chris were really intrigued on that. But anyway, circling back, so we get in the wait list. Mike Tanaka shows up around 8:30. You know, God, he did the best idea. He showed up late. That was the best idea, because 2 a.m. Oh man, that was a day. He shows up 8:30 and he goes, yeah, I'm in line. I'm 34th, and we're like, all right, 07s, dude. Good luck. We didn't think anybody passed, like, because I had talked to Ben and Emily, and Ben, not knowing, he didn't confirm anything. He was just like, I at least know like 10 to 12 people will probably get in based on what we saw, like checking decks and stuff like that the night before. So we're like, sweet, 10 to 12 people. And funny enough, me and Moses were 11th and 12th. 11th
10th
and
and,
12th.
I think it was 10th and 11th.
Yeah, something like that.
One of the two.
We were really close to the cutoff from what we had thought it was going to be. Lo and behold, 9:30 comes and we all get slapped. Me and Moses definitely got slapped in the face as we found out 34 people got into that event.
Oh, it was more than 34. So on our way out at 9:30, because Colin and I were going back to the table to meet with Arvind, because we, instead of just staying in the venue, because it didn't really have air conditioning, because it's an abandoned Sears.
Yeah.
We were in the food court where it was like well ventilated and much more open. So we were on our way out as the waitlist line was formed, and Mike Tanaka was in the middle of the line at 34th, and all but 2 people got in. So like, at least 50 people got into this event.
That doesn't make
It's
me
like-
feel any better.
I know.
My day
I figured
started.
you should know though.
Oh, thank
Alright,
you.
that was a test of endurance for you.
Oh no, it
that
definitely
day.
was.
That was a trial.
That day was. Me and Moses were feeling it, dude. Because I'll let everyone know is how me and Moses were playing that a day out was like we showed up for entry. That's really how we were. Like it was about like. So 2 a.m. we were pumped. We were ready to go. We were ready to play in this event. It was around 6 in the morning. We are like, entry, right? Like we're entry and leaving. It was kind of those vibes. It was kind of those vibes going into it, and so we ended up going into round 1, and it started around what 10? I think 10, right?
I think
10
they
to
started on time at 10.
10, yeah. 10, and I don't know about you guys, but because I started at 11:30 the night before, I was blasted for round 1. Round 1, I was not in the zone. I was barely there. I was playing into a Katakuri player, and I was playing it pretty routine, Whitebeard style, into the Katakuri matchup. I had him on the ropes. I was about to win the match. And on his second to last turn, he plays a 10 mom, and that 10 mom specifically burned my last life. And my last life that was burnt happened to be a Rush Luffy, and I put it in the trash, and I said nothing of it. And then he swung another 6 at me. Yeah, he swung a 6 at me or something, and he swung 8K at me with his 7 mom, and I was an 8K leader, so I just gave him an Ezo. So the Ezo is over the Rush Luffy in the trash right now, and how I started my next turn was that Rush Luffy is in my hand. Don't you worry, boys. That Rush Luffy's in my hand. He hit me. He didn't burn it. He hit me. So I started my next turn. I didn't even look at my hand. I just slapped it on the board, on the table, and I said, I know how to play this game. I swing 7 with 8. I'm the best player in the room right now. That's what I said to myself. I swung 7 with ace. It connected. No triggers. He's at 2 life, by the way, boys. And girls. And so I said, all right, my board state now has a unswung 5-cost Marco, an unswung Whitebeard, and then my leader that's unswung. So I said, okay, to confirm the last life, I'll swing the 10 drop, just in case it's a beige and something crazy. I just don't want any shenanigans to happen. I hit it. It's a brulee. This is where I regret swinging with the Whitebeard, but that's okay. We could still move past this. He's only got 4 cards in hand, and I know that like 3 or 4 of them are bricks. Yeah, he has 4 or 5 cards, and I think 2 to 3 of them were bricks. So I said, okay, I have Rush Luffy in my hand. It's confirmed. Again, hadn't checked my hand at all to reconfirm that there's a Rush Luffy in there. I said, okay, I got this. It's okay. It's okay. So I swing 6 with Marco. He counters with the 0-cost event and the Big Mom. And then I swing another 6 with Whitebeard, and he goes counter with a 2K. Now, mind you, I just said he just played a Brûlée off that last life. I forgot he didn't block with that Brûlée. So I was like, oh, but that's okay, though. I have a Rush Luffy in my hand. I go to search in my hand. I do not have a Rush Luffy. But I have an Ezo, though. So I panic played an Ezo. I found a Jozu, and I slapped the Jozu on board, swung 9k, and I said, that's game, right? He goes, block. I'm like, that's how my round one went. My round one went. I was going so well. I was doing so hot, and then I got blocked. I was like, oh, okay, got it.
I mean, in your defense, sometimes when you're that deep into it, you just have to send it, right? You just have to put your 9 Dawn on. You have to swing your Jozu for 9 and be like, good game. And if they say good game, scoop of the cards, and then you register, you're like, all right. No, don't actually do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, play a good game of One Piece. No sharking, please.
Yeah.
Was there a line with swinging your 9 cost last?
Yeah, it was always the line.
I had a Marco and a leader to swing still.
I mean,
I was just greedy.
He had a 9k swing. It was just supposed to be with the Rush Luffy. No, with
it was more or less I swung with the Whitebeard because if it, like, let's say it's a burn card, right? I have the Rush Luffy, so if it's like or not a burn card, but if it's a heal card, I can go like swing the 7k with Marco. It's a blocker, then I can Rush Luffy. That's why I swung the 9-beard when I did. It was just like I just gotta confirm it. Don't want to be in a shenanigan. It was a bad time. I lost to myself. But then this is when the heat started. I'll let you guys talk about your day.
Well,
yeah, you're already this far. You might as well conclude your story. Then we'll go over ours.
Going into the event, a lot of people were there. I had two sides of my Whitebeard deck. It was the people that were rooting for me, 10 people. The people that were not excited to see me on Whitebeard. The rest were not excited to see me on Whitebeard.
There are 2 wolves inside of Trevor.
Yes, I know that meme. That's a good one. And we ended up. So out of spite, I said, you know what? Heck this. I lost my first round, but I think I can do this. And I proceeded to go 7-0 in the last 7 rounds of the day. And we were supposed to have a 9th round, but I guess fortunately, but unfortunately, the down pair ended up winning. So he did end the game. He ended the tournament on an 8th round.
Yeah. So for those of you who aren't familiar with like premier level tournaments, the way Bandai works is that we keep playing rounds until either it's pretty much until there's only one undefeated left.
Yep.
Unless there's like very, very niche scenarios.
Very niche
like,
circumstances.
Like nationals. but well, that's another story. But yeah, so like even if for a 380 something man tournament, it's supposed to be 9 rounds mathematically, but because of the way down pairs can work, by the end of the 8th round, at the start of the 8th round, there's 3 undefeateds. So obviously one of the 3 undefeateds had to play someone that was X1, and in that 8th round, that person that was undefeated lost. So by the end of that 8th round, there was only 1 undefeated left. That's why I got cut.
Yep. Which was a shame. It was a shame because Whitebeard, man, we were on it. We were running. We were running the gauntlet. But I will talk about my matchups here because my matchups were pretty good up until it was my soccer round, which my soccer round was round 7. That player, he was a newer, not newer, but sort of newer. He played like more in like set 5 and 6 is when he was playing, and maybe even 4.
Post Whitebeard meta.
And he is actually, funny enough, a local of ours in the Gamers Command area, or the Brandon area. And he had seen 4 Houndblazes that game. And he was playing it, even though he said, I don't know how to play into your Whitebeard leader, he was playing it how you should be playing it into the Whitebeard leader by happenstance. Like, he was just like, boost my brand new swing 6, boost my brand new swing 6, boost my brand new swing 6. And I was like, you gotta stop, dude. This is horrendous. You gotta stop this. And how I ended up playing that game out, because usually for me as a Whitebeard player, if I don't see Whitebeard if I don't see Whitebeard in the first like 2 to 3 turns, I'm gonna play to just take all my life and just have a bunch of cards in hand, and then have all my options laid out for me by the 4th or 5th turn. And I didn't see Whitebeard until, funny enough, the last 2 cards of my life. So I've already taken all this life. I'm going into my 7 Dawn turn. I'm on 1 life left. I have 1 Whitebeard in my hand, and I go to draw my next card, and it's a Whitebeard. And I run 3 in the deck. And I already have 2 aces and a Luffy in my hand. So I'm pretty much bricked up at this point. There's nothing I can really do. If when I take this last life, if he just strapped 10 Dawn on any of his characters, he connected. There was just no way for me to out the swing. Fortunately for me, he unfortunately, or fortunately for me, unfortunately for him, he played a little bit more defensive than he should have, especially because at a certain point, whenever I was at 0 life, he was at 2 life, and I just had no way of really killing him through all the cards in his hand. So that is what squeaked that win out, but props to him. I'm so sorry I forgot your name. That's my bad. But you played really well. I will definitely give it to you, and I think we've talked about it in the Discord as well.
Dude, you were,
he
like,
played really well, yeah. Oh, this?
Yo, like, I just...
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
Me and Chris were watching behind you, and you were like... Because you were holding your hand, it's like 5 out of... Like, it's like 5 out of your 9 cards, like, didn't counter, and you're just like... and you're just, like, staring your opponent dead in the eye, you're like...
It was either mean mug him. It was mean mug him to not him do it, and that I think it worked because he and you know, props to him. Keep doing it if this is what you're doing. I don't know if you're doing it intentionally or not, but he's one of those people that grab all 10 of his Dawn and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it, like, that's how he counts. And it kept freaking me out. I was like, if he doesn't strap, I was
Well, be cool, man. Be cool.
At a certain point, it was like me. Emily kept walking by and kept glancing at me. And at a certain point, I about grabbed his Dawn, strapped it under his sabo, and just swung at me. I was like, just do it, please, for the love of God, in my life, please, don't do this anymore. You're teasing me at this point.
He's giving you a little tickle.
Dude, it was crazy. It was wild. But yeah, that was my round 7. That was probably that was definitely my closest game. And then I played an RP Law in the final round. That round, RP Law does not do well into Whitebeard. Let me just say that right now. That is a hard matchup.
Especially just before them having to support and stuff. So.
Yeah.
I think it improves with EB. But
especially like
this was not an EB event.
Yeah, this is not an EB event. Kid Killer was not out, so they weren't swinging freely for 7s at me. But like, yeah, when you don't have as much Dawn as you should be to be able to do that, it's a lot harder.
Right.
I beat both my Yamato matchups, which was an amazing feat because everyone, when we started this tournament, and there's a lot of Whitebeard players in Orlando. Sorry, I'm talking a lot here, but there's a lot of Whitebeard players in Orlando, and there ended up being a ton of Yamato players for some reason. You guys got to stop doing that. That's not fair. That's a hate crime, I think, in most places, because you guys were rampant. And that was that's some of our scariest matchups because if we ended up a lot of times if we end up taking the one double attack, we're off kilter. But what I found, and it was just like, it was by happen chance that I figured this out because we have a little bit of Yamato players in our local scene, was what you're supposed to do in that matchup, at least for me, and it worked twice, so I'm going to keep doing it until it doesn't work, is I think you're supposed to take the first like double attack swing that doesn't have an Onami strapped to it, and then you go ahead and counter out of the next one that's going to have the Onami strapped to it. Because if you try to counter out of both, like you're just losing 4 to 5 cards out of that transaction, and that's just, you've lost the game at that point. There's too much that they can do, and that's where I think I figured out for that matchup. Plus Shiraya. Shiraya came up in all those matchups. It blocked out of an 8K Yamato swing in the late game, and then it blocked. It forced the opponent because he only had. So at the end of the game, he had Hody and one Amaro in his hand. But I double Shiraya'd him, so he was forced to play Hody to get rid of both blockers instead of doing the Amaro, which, funny enough, is what let me win that game, because his swings were not as tall as they were going to be if he was only just allowed to play the one Amaro.
Right, because he used 7 Dawn on a Hody instead of just, like, using -1 Dawn on an Amaru.
Yeah, exactly. So that was really nice. But I think, other than that, that was my run. It was a crazy run. It was a very fun run. I got to play Jonas at the end of the tournament because me and him... He doesn't know it. I don't know if he knows it, but I'm definitely he's my rival for me because he was my very first loss in TCG competitive play ever. And I want to keep playing him and hopefully get better, while playing him.
He's like your anime rival.
He is, and he just doesn't know it, but that's okay. That's how anime rivals work, right? For the most, some of them just work like that.
You're going on your training arc. Also, before we carry on, Trevor, how do you end up placing in the event?
I got 11. I forgot to talk about that. My bad.
We're talking about all your matches. We haven't discussed record or anything. Anyways, you said you got 11th. What was your final record for the day?
It was 7-1. Yeah, because we only had 8 rounds. It was 7-1. It's funny enough because it's a locals of ours, John, who's with the Emily and her crew. How you and Arvind were during Kissimmee is how me and John were during Oviedo. Because he lost his first round, and from there on out, me and John were 2 tables away from each other every round. I was scared. I was mad. I was like, oh no, please don't do it. Please. I think if we would have gotten that 9th round, actually, I think it would have been me and him. just with how we were sitting, because me and him actually ended up sitting next to each other in the 9th round.
Dude, that was me and Arvind Kissimmee.
Yeah.
Last three rounds in a row next to each other every single round.
Yep.
I'm like, this is it. Next round, it's gonna happen. It didn't. The chance is always there, but it's not guaranteed.
Well, yeah,
But,
I mean,
yeah.
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 Enough about me, though. Please, go ahead, boys. 11th place for Whitebeard. It was an amazing run. I'm so happy because the GOAT that he is has never...
Oh, yeah.
He has never failed me. I've taken... Every event that I've taken Whitebeard to, he has done really well in, and I'm never going to knock him again.
Oh, yeah. Florida man tops regional with Whitebeard. Oh, what a headline.
Florida man beats opponent senseless with a shovel.
I'm kidding, dude. Like, but
Mine
dude,
had a
props to you,
shovel.
Trevor. I'm so... Dude, like... I'm so happy for two reasons. Number one, obviously, I'm happy for you as a homie because you got your invite. And number two,
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I'm also very happy that like you actually brought Shovelbeard. We're calling it Shovelbeard now, by the way.
That's fine.
Like, because like the few days before, I was like, Trevor, you need. I know you were like still kind of 50-50 on it. I'm like, Trevor, you need to take this. Number one, Whitebeard's still your favorite deck. Like, you'll be significantly happier playing this than Gecko. Number two, if you top with this, which I'm betting you will, you'll be really good content for the channel. And you did.
Yeah. It was,
Also-
a sweet spot.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Also to clarify, Trevor also is now queued up for nationals. Normally the event only handed out, because it was a test event, less than 500 people could play. It normally only hands out 8 invites. But at the end of the day, we got some confirmation from the judges that there was pass down, and we found, I believe, 4 spots. So both Trevor and John both got their invites, so they're all queued up.
Yep.
It was a good day.
Yeah. I guess to talk about my matches a little, I went 6-2. I lost to Henry Pham and Nikki Goldman, who both top 8 at the event. I had a misplay to Nikki because I looked at the clock, saw 2 minutes, and then my brain turned off.
I mean, if
But-
there's anyone to lose to, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone to lose to, I can't complain, though. It was Henry and Nikki, both excellent players. I ended up 33rd, bubbled out top 32, but, I mean, I want to say I'm very proud of all of us because we all got top 64 regardless. So we all ended up getting kids out of that event at least. My changes were that, like we mentioned a while ago, I put 2 Ishos into my list, and it worked. I played it against a Moria mirror, funny enough, and it won me the match. I ripped a Moria and a counter out of his hand. He had a second Moria, but he had to deal with the Isho, so it didn't matter. And then the one Black Yellow Luffy I played, I did not see the Isho. I just punished him when he made a mistake, and then he lost.
Didn't
So-
Chris from Small Hat, like, he took your list last minute, right? Or you gave
Chris-
him your list last minute?
Yeah, I gave Chris my slightly outdated list. It was like a 1-card change. It's not exactly outdated. Hold on. Let me explain. Don't just start laughing at me, Trevor. Hold on.
I'm the one
So,
who filmed the vlog.
Thursday night, I'm playing against Chris, and Chris is streaming our match on YouTube, and it keeps dropping or whatever, regardless, besides the point. I blast Chris in our locals. And then Chris is like, I don't know, man. I don't know what I should do. I'm like, Chris, I'm going to give you the secret sauce. This is the deck list. You should take this to Oviedo. So I give him my Moria list, and this list is on 3 Hinas and 1 Ice Age. And then Friday night, as I'm going to register my deck, I cut 1 Hina, put in the second Ice Age, because I'm like, if they remove my Isho and I don't have the Ice Age, I'm going to be really sad, because I can't return clear to their board. So I went to 2-2. I just did not get to see Hina for most of the tournament, but I kept seeing Ice Age, so it worked out whenever I needed it. I never saw the Isho into the Black Yellow Luffy, but like I said, it didn't matter. And then Chris literally started off the tournament 0-2, losing both times because Isho was in his hand. But
Because Isho is in his life.
yeah, Isho was in his
yeah.
life. I want to point out, before I say anything, I was like asking him, I'm like, alright, so if you cut the Ishos, what would you have put in? Because you're complaining about not having Ice Age. So if you just cut them for Ice Ages, it wouldn't make a difference. They still wouldn't be countered in your hand.
maybe
He's
the
like,
Ice Age
that's
would have
besides the
triggered.
point.
Maybe the Ice Age would have triggered and blow up like the lethal brand new or something. You don't know.
He's cooking.
That's
He's
not how that
cooking.
works.
He's cooking.
He's not cooking. If your opponent's playing optimally, they're gonna start off with the brand new. You're not gonna.
I mean, I don't know who good his
Just
opponents
accept
were. I don't know how optimal his opponents were playing. You don't know.
Look, man, I'm just saying, if you replace the Ishos with Ice Ages, there's still no blocks in his hand. It doesn't matter.
All
That's
I'm
my
saying is,
stance.
your Isho made him a Perona player. So I don't know what you did to that man, but he's a Perona player.
I'm gonna
I
say
think he's
this.
excited about Samurai Pro now.
No, he is. I understand that, but I think that's the funny arc that Chris went on. Is he got baited to play Isho, and then he's a Perona player.
Hey man, I ended up 6-2 with a loss to me misplaying. I think that Isho did well.
That's fair.
That's
how
on
about
him.
you? How about you, all, Arvind and Colin? What you guys got?
Arvind, I'll let you go first. I have a story.
I also went XT at that event, but I got blasted by Katakuris pretty early in that event, and it was
I
not
gotta
a good
watch
time.
Dude, your round 2 was so funny.
Arvind,
Like,
can I tell?
obviously
can I
not for
tell?
you, but
Arvind got
I
Omega
respect that
landmine,
player. He went for it. He saw his opportunity.
he had
just
that dog
gunned
in
it.
him.
Arvind, can I talk about your round 4 though, dude? That round 4 was crazy. In terms of that
You
last.
can talk about it, but like I think that guy just like knew what was happening there. But it was it was an insane circumstance.
Yeah,
for
no, I'm not knocking the player at all. I'm knocking the fact that it was like the Arvind had a board state that was pretty much guaranteed to have game as long as the triggers went somewhat in his favor. There was only like a few outs to it. The guy saw the outs. On the second to last life, Arvind had hit him. It connected because the guy had one card in hand. Getting the second to last life would have put 2 in hand, and he knew his last life was a Maru. So he takes that life, and then Arvind swings again. It's an Amaru. He heals, and then Arvind has 2 swings left at this point. He goes 5k with Hina because he doesn't have any cards in hand. It connects, right? And it healed the base trigger. That was a crazy turn of events. It was so sad to watch that because I got to. Funny enough, me and Arvind sat next to each other in our 4th round, and I got to watch that happen live from the opponent's perspective. That was the best part. I got to watch it happen live from the opponent's perspective. That guy was happy. I bet. That guy healed the base.
That wasn't the guy I was talking about. The guy I was talking about in round 2 saw some pretty good bodies early,
Dude,
and I couldn't get rid of both. I didn't have any Murakumo swords in my hand. So I was forced to go for some plays where I'm blazing an active unit and swinging into a rested unit, and he counters out two TKs, and he proceeds to blast my life with the unit on board. And his following turn is a reject play on his 8 Dom turn to kill me with a 10k leader swing. And I just don't have enough counter that early in the game.
Dude, it was
just
so
finishes the game in
wild.
5 minutes and walks away. I'm like, what just happened here?
There was a lot of
Dynamite
lethal
Dawn.
stories. After Colin's story, I'm going to tell a story, because I got to play next to Moses for 1 round. I'm going to tell that story. That story is a wild one, but I'll let Colin go first before we continue here.
Yeah, I mean, my rounds, like, so basically me, Mohammad, and Arvind, all 3 of us went next to, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
To get our top 64. So yeah, my 2 losses were to a Moria and a Saka. Other way around, but yeah. The fact of the matter is that, like, when you play the black matchup, whether it be like Moria versus Moria, Saka versus Moria, or whichever way, it kind of does come down to, if both players are playing like near perfectly, a lot of the time it kind of does come down to like a Moria war. It's just whoever sees more Morias at more opportune times. So that's kind of what happened. I mean, my 2 losses, I kind of got Moria diffed, where like my opponent saw more Morias. But on the other hand, like, to be fair, some of my other wins was due to me seeing more Morias than my opponent, so it kind of balances out, right? A couple rounds I did want to point out. There was so like I played like 2 Morias, 2 Sakas, 2 Yamatos, 2 Katakuris. It was like a perfect like 2-2-2-2-2. And yeah, I definitely got some lucky breaks that tournament. There was one where like I basically was up against a Katakuri. I was only at 1 life, and he had like 7 cards in hand and had double 10-drop Big Mom. And I have a board of like Gecko plus Sabo plus Aluchi, and he's at 2 life. And I just like, I decided to like play a Sabo to protect my board, but then I realized it's like, wait, I'm a dum-dum. If he just has reject, I'm dead regardless, because I have no way of clearing the Big Moms. And so I just go swing, and then he shows me his hand, and it's like 1k counter. I'm like, there's no justice in this world. I wasted 5 Dawn for no reason, like literally for no reason. I mean, there's no reason to like play a Sabo to play around an Onami at that point. There's just no justice. So I won that game. And then fast forward, we get to the very last round, so round number 8, which at the time we weren't really sure if it was the last round or not, because we weren't sure how the down bear was going to happen. Yeah. But yeah, so we think it's potentially the last round. So we look at our phones, and I'm like, all right, good luck, everybody. And I look down my phone for my pairings, and I'm like, my round 8 opponent is Fern again. The same guy I lost to, the same homie I lost to the last round of Kissimmee. And I'm like, all right, here we go. So we sit down, and Fern's like, bro, how did this happen? And then he brings out his same unsleeved Saka leader, and it's completely scuffed. It's like even more scuffed than last time. It's like completely white around the edges, and it's like creased. Like, that's how badly he plays with his unsleeved leader. And then he doesn't have dice, so he just reaches for my deck box, pulls out my dice compartment, pulls out 2 dice, and he's like, high roll? I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, those are my dice, bro. He's like, yeah, but you're gonna roll them anyway. And I was like, dude, all right, no, you are not gonna outscuff me. So here's what you do. Hold on, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
What? The impromptu leaving is crazy.
What happened?
Man had to go grab his leader. I think that's what he's talking about.
I'll cut it if I need to, but yeah, so
He disappeared.
but yeah, so I was like, bro, you are not outscuffing me today. So I show my Saka leader. I'm like, all right, we're on the mirror match this time. You can't trash talk my leader this time, because we're literally in the mirror match. And I pull out my Altart Saka leader, and I literally pull it out of the sleeve, and I'm like, all right, homie, we're doing this. And the table next to me is like, bro, you're playing with an Altart. And I'm like, I don't care. It's only like $30. I need the W, man.
I need the dub.
And I was like flicking. I was snapping on the table, like, bro, we're doing this. And then I won. No. So
let's go. Unsleeved leaders are the most powerful version of your leader.
Look,
you have
to
use
some card denters, some metal dice. That's how you get it really going.
Yeah. Got the card denter 9000s, bro.
Before we leave the rounds and talking about Oviedo, Moses, again, my homie, God, what a saint that man was on that day. Let me tell you. But he got blasted. Did he get blasted? I think it was his round. Let me make sure real quick. Yeah, it was my first Gecko. So it was his round 3. His round 3 opponent, right before lunch, is a Zoro player. And I'm like, oh yeah, Moses got this. He's playing Black Yellow Luffy. The Zoro has to climb to him to be like a 9-7K lead. Like, this is easy for him. He's got good blockers that can't be popped. It's gonna be crisp. It's gonna be great. Moses is at 0 life, and I look over and he's got like 3 cards in hand, 1 blocker, and the opponent is out of swings except for 1 Nico Robin, and that opponent has 5 opened on. And I said, yeah, Moses got this. And then I look back at my opponent and I said, yeah, whatever, right? I then look back to my right because my opponent looks his opponent who knows me. Moses' opponent, who knows me, looks at me and goes, watch this. He goes 1, 2, 3, triple Machino into a Magura, into a Diable Jambe on the Nico Robin, and blast Moses for the final kill. Dude, I've never seen someone so confidently go, watch this, and then blast my friend. And then my friend just didn't know. Moses didn't know what to do. He's like, yeah, you got it, dude. I got 5 cards. I got 3 cards in here. What am I gonna do? This is wild.
Was that a 14K Nico Robin unblockable at his face?
That's so goated.
Dude, I was like, what? What just
Watch
happened?
this.
Watch this.
That one ups the Collins stamp of approval back in set 3 Whitebeard.
No, dude,
Putting down 2 Machinos, approved.
Oh, I forgot I used to do that.
Yeah, no, that might have been the best moment of that regional, was just watching that happen. I feel bad for Moses, but I'll never be able to. That's never gonna be replicated again. You can't
Why was there
replicate
even a Nico
that.
Robin on board into Black Yellow Luffy?
So I think it was because he just was playing bodies every turn to keep one up, right? Like, it was the old Zoro strategy into Whitebeard. It's just like play the body to make sure you have another swing going into the next turn. Right. Especially because Black Yellow Luffy has like the garps to like be able to pop, like kill the Zoro the Zoro little bodies. That's what I'm assuming. I don't know how else. I don't know how else it could happen.
I'm genuinely curious because Nika Robin doesn't even pop Garp.
No, well, no, it's not for Garp. No, it's not.
It pops Machino.
No, it's so it's not the Nico Robin. I'm assuming the Zoro played it just to play as a body.
Yeah.
Because every time the Zoro player would swing at his life, Moses could answer it with his Garp, the rested body. So the Robin was just a body to be an extra body, so that the next turn he could just. He probably knew what he was doing. He probably tried to get his opponent to 0 and just was going to blast him with 4 Machino and a Magura.
He was probably just trying to set up like 5 like untapped bodies to alpha strike you in one turn, right? So.
And did he do that? Wow, that was.
He more than alpha struck.
Luckily, he's certainly weak to wide boards, right?
Yeah.
They only have so many cards in hand.
Yeah.
And if they can connect on his life, then they got his hand right.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, it was a good moment. That was a great moment. I'll never forget that moment. That's for sure. I think other than that, Oviedo was nice. Event again ran very smoothly, especially for it being a test event with Versus running their first event. Congratulations to them on that. Hopefully we get more in the future because I would love more Florida events.
Absolutely.
I think Florida is a hot spot for card games, so I think it just makes sense.
I would like to put out there too. I am very proud of how we did at Oviedo. Like more so than Kissimmee. Obviously, I'm proud of you, Mohammad and Arvind, for doing as well as they have in Kissimmee. But for us in Oviedo, we were not Scrub Pirate CCG, right? we had Trevor at 11th, and then the rest of the 3 of us at top 64, which maybe does not sound that impressive at a glance, but given how stacked that regional was,
That was stacked.
right?
Dude.
Like we had Nikki Goldman, famous player. Henry Pham, famous player. Trevor Nemkovic, famous player. Jonas, obviously, our national champion. Cross was there too.
Cross was there.
Evan, Brandon Corpus, and Garrett Farrington were there. Fern
Jesse
is
Jesse
a player.
Cotton.
That's the two big one. Cody Angeloff and Jesse Cotton
yes.
I know Cody Angeloff's been doing really well in One Piece more so recently, but both from the Yu-Gi-Oh scene. Was crazy to see them at the event.
I was surprised. I had no idea Jesse Cotton was played One Piece. It's like,
yeah.
Did anybody know
Cody
that?
was there. So Jesse, I heard about, was playing One Piece. I actually sat next to him in one of my rounds. I was talking to him. He's like, yeah, Cody is playing One Piece as his main game now over Yu-Gi-Oh. And I just me and my opponent recognized that who Jesse was, and we talked to him a bit before a round started. I'm like, hey Jesse, what are your thoughts on the game? He's like, which one? I'm like, I don't know, whichever one you want to talk about. He's like, man, Yu-Gi-Oh's just dog water. The ban list did nothing. The best deck got untouched basically. The game's awful to play.
It really did.
Anyways, I'm playing One Piece right now, and then our round started and he did say anything about One Piece, so I'm like, alright, well, if he's that vocal about Yu-Gi-Oh, then clearly One Piece must be in a fine spot to him. So
yes, Cody Angeloff was there. I don't think
was he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He played Alexis Stennett in round 2 or 3, I believe.
Okay, I didn't see him.
Alexis was there, by the way, another really good player. There was a lot of good players at this tournament.
It was stacked.
Avi
was there, another Arizona local.
Yep.
Basically, the whole Arizona crew was there for the most part. With Jonas Cross and their circle of good players, right?
Yeah, I saw Klish out there. I know Jackson Baum, another local of ours, who's really good. He's from the Orlando scene as well.
Oh, congrats to him! That was his first serial, right? So.
No, it was his second.
Oh, second. Okay.
It because I didn't get to see him do the online regional top, but either way, he did. Props to him for getting even a top 8 placing here.
Fern was also there, as Colin mentioned. Another known player.
My arch nemesis, apparently.
Jackson made me laugh though because we knew the round got cut there, and we were sitting in the back there. I don't remember who was with me at the time. But Jackson walks over to me, leans at the table, and goes, "If I get by tiebreakers one more time, dude, I'm gonna lose it." he got it though. He got the top 8 though. But that was definitely a funny moment for me. Impressive runs for all of us, especially going into this event with some care, but definitely not enough. We didn't have their nationals level of prep. There was no prep. There was not a lot of prep.
There wasn't the month of preparation we took for Nats at least. But
right.
Yeah.
There was more than there was for Kissimmee. I'll say that. I will say,
marginally, but yeah.
I will say once again, very smoothly run. We were like, after like getting our prizing, we were out of the venue by 6, and we actually got to go to Disney Springs. That was fun.
That was fun.
Well, it was more fun for some of us than others. One individual whose name starts with a T and ends with a river was on.
Someone told me to look up. I'm gonna blast whoever did it. I don't remember who said it. Someone told me to look up Planet Hollywood or whatever. I typed that into my GPS, and me and Moses got dragged to the ocean. There was no saving us. We pulled into the building. We're like, this can't be Disney Springs, right? By the way, Moses should have realized this. He went there on the regular, but he was so exhausted. He fell asleep during our trip back to Disney Springs. So
it's okay. Mohammad was also a bad driving buddy for me too.
Oh, was he? Did he fall asleep as well?
He also fell asleep. So me and Mohammad were in the car together. I was driving. He was asleep the whole time when I was driving to Disney Springs.
I excuse Moses. Me and him went up. Yeah.
You literally fell asleep mid-sentence as we were talking about EV1. You're just like, yeah, we need to pick up Kid Killer, Bon Clay.
Dude,
I'm like, bro,
I passed
what
out.
are you doing?
Dude, I was on my phone playing the Nikkei Gacha game and talking to Colin about the EB, and I like subconsciously like fell asleep, woke up. I'm like, where's my phone? Also, what were we talking about again? Colin's like, I don't know. You stopped talking mid-sentence. And I'm like, oh, okay.
I think other than that though, that was our 2 regionals these last 2 weekends. Very good time. I know we've got more events coming up over the next month of May. I believe Arvind, you're in the Treasure Cup on the 4th, and then we are all in Peoria. I don't know if all of us are going to Peoria. TBD on that one, I think. 'Cause I think MomoCon's the same weekend, so I think it's stealing one of us at least. And then we're going to. I do believe we're all going to North Carolina though for that, so we'll be at the Dragon Ball event.
I may or
at
may
least
not
3
be,
of us are going to North Carolina.
Also, at least 3 of us.
Also to be determined.
I know that we were talking about it. I didn't know if Colin was undecided or not, but
well,
yeah,
we got to figure that out. But
we will be traveling though. We'll be hopefully be able to see some of you guys out there, and be able to get some games in with you guys.
Well, let us know if you guys want to see some Dragon Ball content too. I mean, at least 3 of us will be at that regional, so we can definitely do some more vlogs if you guys like that kind of stuff.
I'll be seeing people at Canada. I'll be at that one on the 11th. So
thank you, Mohammad, for reminding me. I forgot you're going to Canada because Canada doesn't exist. It's not real.
It definitely doesn't exist when someone doesn't have a passport.
Yeah, some of us need a passport still.
Dude, if I can't drive there without a passport, it doesn't exist, right? That's how that works. I think other than that, I don't know if Colin, if you have anything else you want to talk about.
Nope, that's pretty much it. Again, guys, for all y'all watching this, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, as always. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell for more stuff coming up. And yeah, this has been our 4th episode of It Connects. Keep an eye out for the next one.
Take it easy, guys.
See you guys.
See you guys.